Couple things, just give you a bit of background. Loco Noco is my day job today. Again, painless integrations for distributed ledgers. But Wiivv is what I want to talk about, given it's a hardware company. It has a lot of interesting facets to it and quite a bit further along, so more lessons to draw from. It is the market leader in 3D products today. And yeah, we have an office in Vancouver and our factory in San Diego and some exciting things in the pipeline. Well, the story I want to tell you today is about how we build a full stack company. And I want to share tips about what it means to own the full customer experience and really how to never compromise in many different areas and really maintain as much leverage as possible when you're working with partners, investors, and even selling the best possible product you can. So we make a fully custom and clinically proven scan-at-home product. You can have a custom insole. This is orthotic grade, or you can have a custom sandal. Now, what's amazing about these products is that you can use your smartphone at home to scan your feet and then get a pair delivered in a couple days. That's amazing for a product that typically would take weeks to get and made custom. So the problem used to be that you'd go either to your Shoppers Drug Mart to get insoles over the counter, but the problem is they were generic, would lack support, the Dr. Scholl standard insole you'd get. On the other end of the spectrum, you either went to the doctor for prescription orthotics. So your podiatrist or orthotist would make these for you. And this is a laborious process that might take a few weeks and cost you a few $100 as well. And so there was, yeah, thank you. And so, of course, this issue is compounded because every day you and I just basically walk tens of thousands of steps, possibly at least a few thousand, and we're compounding this issue with poorly fitting footwear. I'm going to skip the video here. Now, the issue with Wiivv is we had so many different facets to our tech stack that became a lot to manage, especially with a team that started off with just a few dozen folks. We had mobile computer vision, 3D analysis, machine learning. You can see the full list there. And then we started doing things as well that were bonuses, focusing on sustainability and making a fully recyclable product. And the issue is, as a 3D printed product, it didn't cut it in many areas. That was the core feature and technology we used. It was slow, it was expensive, it didn't scale well, it was pretty much misunderstood by the market as to what it could do and what it was good for. And we had to find many creative ways to make this technology work for us. And here's the case in point. We've had many competitors emerge since we started in 2014, and when I say competitors, I don't mean upstarts, I mean huge companies like Adidas, Reebok, New Balance, launching products to compete with us. And they're the proof that 3D itself does not cut it, and you have to find all these new strategies that we did. And so when they say they want to launch a 3D printed product in the footwear category, they're talking about just releasing a few hundred pairs at a time, and each of these pairs could cost you a few $100s to a few thousand. And so they didn't really figure everything out from a logistics and manufacturing standpoint. And so here are the 3 lessons that will help anyone looking to build a vertically integrated company basically outcompete the behemoths in their industry. Number 1, leave the 3D out. And this is what I mean by 3D. I mean any other technology that you might want to put in there as a buzzword, be it AI or blockchain nowadays. Second, have a UX that inspires new channels. Don't let yourself be beholden to old channels with already established distribution and so on. There are many new things you can do in today's day and age, and I'll show you a few examples of that. And finally, control your destiny, especially when it comes to selling your product and making your product. So when I say leave the 3D out, I mean it doesn't matter to most. When we started our company, we found that a lot of customers just didn't understand what 3D printing was good for and assumed that it would make brittle products that might break. And so you don't really want to confuse your customer with new tech. You just want to focus on the benefits. And so when we started just focusing on the custom aspect of our product, we started getting a lot more sales. And what I mean is that this had a big impact on us. I mean, month over month, the minute we started dropping 3D from our marketing, we started seeing sales started to pick up an average of 40% more thanks to that change. After that, you could, of course, use these buzzwords with the tech crowd, but I really mean you should focus on a specific tech evangelist market. So for us, we launched our first few products on Kickstarter, and that's a market that loves to look at 3D printing, AI, or whatever it is, and new dimensions and new technologies, but avoid that altogether for the broader market. And this is what I mean by don't be a purist. You see this product here? The 3D component in it is basically just this red shell here. And that's all we need to make custom with a 3D printer. And so tons of competitors in this space focused on building a completely 3D printed product because it was all about the technology. When you're really thinking about the use case your customer needs to fix, you can focus on using the technology in a very strategic way that maintains high margins and also allows you to get to market a lot faster. Having a UX that inspires new channels. When we started this in this market, we found that the traditional channels were extremely well established. I could not expect to change the behavior of someone who would trust going to a doctor to trust us right away. And so what we had to do is offer something completely different, the opportunity to scan at home. And so we noticed a few trends. One, that everyone was buying things off Amazon back then, that mobile scanning was coming at the forefront of mobile technologies, and you had a real opportunity to disintermediate this whole market by offering a smartphone app to scan your foot and then get it shipped at home. And so that was a way that we were able to, in many ways, define a new channel and really have no competitors. We had no competitors and still have no competitors in that channel today, which is a huge benefit. If you want to customize and personalize the experience for your customers, I suggest really emphasizing a couple things. One is, what does custom mean? And so custom does have to yield a net benefit. And so in our case, it was all about customizing just the art support and not the whole thing. So we didn't go crazy about that. And so, all in all, I really mean that we should focus on having the product stand out despite channel, but also try to use your product and UX as a way to create a new channel. The final point here is control your destiny. And this is extremely important because planning how you're going to scale will save you a lot of headaches down the road. And we did this from day one. In the first year, we maybe had 15,000 orders. Now we're looking at having hundreds of thousands of orders in the next couple of years. And the only way we were able to make that feasible without having to have a capital-intensive endeavor underway was to plan margins in from the beginning. And so what we did is we focused a lot on engineering our product so that we can make it ourselves, not using China as a medium, but making it ourselves in San Diego. And so this insole you see right here is entirely made in the USA in San Diego, using materials that we've sourced ourselves, developed ourselves, so that we can get them cheaper and faster, and from the distributors that we can trust, and also every aspect from the top layer and so on. So it's a lot more work on the engineering side, but it does allow us to have 70% margins for a hardware product that's newly launched. That's pretty outstanding. And this is what I mean from not being beholden to anyone but your own customer. When you grow, as is the case with Wiivv today, a lot of suitors are going to come and say, look, we want to make your product, or we want to partner with you. We want to help you distribute this. And we built all this leverage from day one that has allowed us to get the best possible terms you can imagine. And just to give you an idea, you think of us as a hardware startup today, but with every global partnership that we've established, and the ones you're going to see this in a news cycle in the next few months, we've been able to build software-like margins where we focused on almost exclusively the customization component in the software component of our business. So think of it this way. We don't have to make any product to make millions of dollars off every partner we close, given that they're paying for the customization and not the hardware itself. And so that's the secret sauce that will allow you to have tons of leverage with any customer in this space. And so I encourage you to look for what that secret sauce is that any partner just won't have an option to replace you with. And why is this important, these three lessons? Well, because full stack companies make a big difference in our world, and I'd encourage a lot of Vancouverites to pursue full stack companies. I think today we tend to focus on certain niche industries, the social media space, the enterprise SaaS space. There's a lot of opportunity in building a fully vertically integrated company, and you do get all these benefits, as I mentioned, not being beholden to anyone but your customer, being able to build great margins to your product, and really having an opportunity to almost outcompete everyone by not competing with them and establishing your own channels. And so I encourage you to think today, if you're looking for an idea, as to what you can do to build a full stack company in Vancouver. Thank you. Thank you. Questions, I guess? Yeah?
Yeah,
Sorry.
perfect. No. Questions? Ash is going to be the hustler.
I imagine, like starting any company to begin with is like just a huge chore, and to build like a full company, like from A to Z, and doing everything without outsourcing anything, like that. I mean, did you make that decision from the beginning, or like did you like arrive at it at some point? Like, how do you begin even to tackle such thing?
Thanks. Actually, my answer will be a little long, but because I'm going to like important things. I was 20 years old when I dropped out of school to found Weave. And immediately I knew that I was going to have a lot of challenges building it because of all these different aspects. And so I built what I called, Napoleon Hill calls the mastermind group. And I put this map of about 30 or 40 names of people I wanted to work with sometime with Weave. And just naturally I started back to your example of cold calling these people, setting up the meetings. And today I'd say about 90% of them work with me in some capacity on that project. And so it's kind of like the universe will work for you in some way once you put the names down. And the first person on that list was Shamil Hargovan, who became my co-founder. And Shamil was the head of Hewlett-Packard's 3D printing initiative back then, which had a $500 million investment. And I initially approached him saying, look, I want an internship with you. He didn't give me the internship. And over 3 dinners, I convinced him to quit his job and become my co-founder. And that's how interesting story, but that's basically how I was able to get a lot of the confidence and build that momentum to tackle all the aspects of the company I didn't have any clue how to tackle. Thank you.
Got time for dinner?
I'm a busy guy, but we'll see. Yeah, for sure.
Hi. Amazing story, very inspiring.
Thank you.
What is your background? Because you said you dropped out of university at the age of 20. So did you have any technical engineering background that allowed you to have, I guess, an idea of what you were going to create and how you're going to create it?
Good question. I was an international relations major, but I did not take, I think, enough courses in the. I always took what interested me in college, and so I had no way I was going to graduate anyways. But that didn't factor into my decision. So I went to Claremont McKenna, which is in SoCal, and next door they have this good engineering college called Harvey Mudd, and I started taking 3D printing classes there. And actually before starting Weave, I was 3D printing car parts as a hobby, and I did this as just being the middleman. I don't know if you guys watch Counting Cars or Pawn Stars on the History Channel, but I made a lot of their car parts. They just don't like to talk about it being 3D printed. And I think just having these little initiatives or hobbies on the side are what kind of gave me the technical knowledge. And here's what I encourage you to do is find one industry you want to become an expert at and just sign up to all the RSS feeds and just read every article. And that's how I slowly got the lingo that allowed me to sit in a room with these deal makers and get some stuff done without having all the schooling I needed to.
Are you from Vancouver or?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's try to give it to someone who hasn't asked a question. So, no, I just saw 2 of you guys go up. Anyone else? Okay. Then I guess it's Dave's turn.
Sorry, Mindy.
Oh, no, there's a gentleman over here after Dave passes it. And one in the back, and then we're going to cut it off.
Listen, that's an impressive story. Something scares me about it, though. I mean, it almost seems like today the smart entrepreneur is going to take one slice out of the stack and do that and do it really well, and leave the rest to other people who do their thing well. And I'm thinking of the 4-hour work week and all that. What do you say to people who tell you, hey, bad idea, you were lucky?
I think, you hear this a lot, and I think this is the gospel nowadays of VCs saying that Canadians should be a bit braver about and ambitious about the ideas and how much of the stack they want to take. And that was my attitude. Might have a bit to do with the fact that I spent a couple of years in the States before, but I think that's a bit of a Canadian mindset where we're thinking, look, let me find something that I can specialize in, and let me leave everyone else to their own devices. And here's what I found in this industry, especially when you're going in a new industry like 3D printing, other folks don't have things figured out. We didn't have a manufacturing partner that could give us the margins we wanted. And so we had to build that from scratch. We basically built our Ocean's 11 vault in San Diego and showed them how to make our product. And we're talking about the biggest manufacturers you can think of. On the 3D scanning side, no one had available technology. And so in some ways, my intention of this presentation was to share that, look, a lot of this was intentional. But if it wasn't intentional, I think we would have had to do it anyways. And so there's a bit of, going into a new industry, you do have to figure a lot of the things out that no one else has. But I want to emphasize this, right? It was a very big vision from the onset. And if you have a big vision, there's less partners that can actually, make it work for you, and you kind of have to scramble together some options to make it work. Makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi there. So my question is, you got an amazing story and a very ingenious application of technology to market. I mean, who doesn't need shoes and confidence shoes, obviously? But you mentioned that you didn't have any competition with startup, which is kind of common sense, I guess. You look into something new, but you still don't have competition now. How long has it been, and what's the reason for that? It can be just luck.
Of course. Great question. So I'm going to clarify one thing. I have competition, but not in that channel, the mobile scan-at-home channel. And so plenty of startups emerge, and we have competitors today that are in the space, but no one has nailed that channel that we have. And I think that was my second point, which is you can find a new user experience that'll inspire a new channel for you. And so if you think outside the box, instead of, I could have gone to orthotists and said, look, guys, you guys already have customers today you're prescribing to. Why not just give them a 3D printer orthotic? And then I thought that didn't make sense. I thought, we could add more value through a different channel. And so using that user experience to our advantage is key. And so that's how we were able to avoid competition and have a channel all to our own, which today is our biggest channel.
We're going to actually cut it off. Sorry. That's why you put your hands up first.